I always wear a hat or a beanie because the last time that I got a haircut a month or two ago, there's no good barbers in Davis. It was really shitty. It did not look like a comb over fade. So now I'm with long hair and I want to see how well I could get that. But I am done with the first week of this mock prep. I feel pretty good where I am losing more water weight. I still look very, very soft. 184 pounds. Body fat percentage is 15.7 to 16. So I'm just going to round it to 16. Very watery, very fat, very small, but small waist, which I'm very thankful for. Chest is on the weak side. Notice that my back very weak as well, and strong suit I'd probably say is my legs, but more of some lat activation here. Notice if I drop it down, you can't really see that little divot right there. If I raise it up a little bit more, shoot it down, have a little bit of a hip turn. I'm also not a posing coach, but I will articulate it the best that I can. So if you guys want to create the illusion of looking fucking huge, this is the best that I could tell you. Usually in men's physique, when you're posing, they don't really care about your legs. When you do that front shot, they really focus more on that taper, having wide lats, broad shoulders, having that small cinched waist, a little bit more of a turn so you can create that illusion of a smaller waist. Of course, I'm very fat, so can't really show that, but hopefully 10 weeks I could do that. In terms of presentation, I'll turn my hip facing to the left, have my feet are still square here, setting the pose, presentation, twist, one hand on hip. Now I don't want to flex my arm because that's not the point of this shot. It's more of just lat and core. I can create the illusion with this nice Gymshark shirt. And so here, set, out, hand on hip, illusion of smaller waist, there. Now I know in my previous, this feels kind of weird. Just speaking, if you guys don't know, or if you guys haven't made the implication yet, I am very Filipino. I don't really know much of my dialect. My parents do. I can create a lot of accents though. I think I can do it very well. That's the type of thing that a lot of people want to understand from my personality, and I do kind of understand a little bit of the language, but I know in my previous video talking about different topics in relation to relationships, trying to blend that with fitness. Obviously I want to continue doing that. Different ideas to talk about to make it as interesting to you guys if you're subscribed, which I think is pretty sick, by the way. Now again, there's plenty of things that I still need to learn and understand, and I need to incorporate within my own training and have that readily available whenever you guys click my YouTube channel. I can start off talking about fitness in general and how to actually begin. I started in 2018. I think I'd probably consider myself like a beginner lifter, nearing that intermediate phase. But from what I've learned since 2018 up until now, if you want to start working out, obviously you got to have fun doing it. Of course, everything is also about sustainability in terms of dieting and training and all these different nuances within the fitness world. Find a split that you actually like doing. I know a lot of people talk about push-pull legs or the Arnold split or the very classic bro split. Actually having something to, when you go into the gym, having something with a specific protocol or a program that you can rely on, as long as you aren't overtraining that same muscle group, or as long as you aren't having a bad time in the gym doing it. Having a type of program that you can refer to, and you can buy ebooks on that online. Literally go on YouTube, find out what people are doing. That's how I started. I'd watch a lot of Jeff Nippard. I'd also watch a lot of Athlean X. The way that I started my fitness game is get my heart broken. If I looked cool, then maybe she would come back, but she never did, and that's totally fine. And then getting like a tiny notebook, actually right here, picking out different workouts that he would do for specific muscle groups like training chest or training shoulder. And I was really skinny fat at the time. Being able to choose a workout program that you could do for that day, it doesn't even have to be for the entire week to begin with. Just choosing a workout that you enjoy doing in there and stepping foot into the gym to experience what that's like. There's a lot of nuances that go into that, like progressive overload, how many sets, how many reps. Also, I would actually encourage recording yourself in the gym as long as you aren't being a fucking cock. I think that's kind of annoying. If you're actually like filming yourself, I know a lot of power lifters that record themselves and they'll have a tripod set up and everything, and they'll record it from the side just so they can actually see how their deadlift looks, just to have the correct technique and the correct form. Or you can use it as a reference to slowly add weight over time within the same movement. I know that the fitness space is, everyone in the fitness space is trying to come up with new ways to perform a movement, new ways to perform a lift, and I think that some of those movements are kind of stupid. You can keep those movements classic, right? Something as classic and simple as those movements, if you can manage to progressively overload with that, and you have a good mind to muscle connection with those movements and lifts, you probably get to where you need to go. If you want to gaining muscle, you'd have to be in a caloric surplus. If you want to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, you got to eat under your maintenance calories, also for another subject at a different time. Doing those things probably set you 100%, 99% better than the next person that is just going in there blind and throwing weight around. To also get that revenge body so small. You guys can tell that I keep mentioning it, but that's probably the best thing that I could tell you guys for the moment. Wow, okay, so guess who is back? I kind of fixed my room, kind of make sure that making a proper space. I have like a big lane. Now my bed is facing more like this way. I have that lane right behind me so I could use it for posing, and I figured that I might as well make it look nicer, have my work desk with all that stuff on that table. To continue moving that, things that you want to do in the gym in order to progress, I'll be more scientific with my approach, but if I could get a little bit more specific in my explanation, if you want to start progressing in the gym, called progressive overload, really not that complicated, but I think people really make fitness extremely complicated when it really isn't. I said it earlier, but I'm not a medical person to kind of appoint. Probably say if you're going to start drugs, you better make sure that you're actually doing the right things. Comprise of getting your blood work done, actually having a coach to kind of direct you with all that. Progressive overload is probably one of the most important things, as well as making sure that you're doing those movements that you want to choose consistently. They don't have to be anything too novel in their approach. They could just be something as simple as choosing how many reps, how many sets that you have, especially if you want to be targeting a muscle. Science-based lifting, what I will say and argue against the point of science-based lifting, they get kind of mucked up, and I'm probably a victim of this myself, is that I don't push it hard enough. Here is the secret to losing weight, gaining muscle, or progressing in the gym. So simple. You don't need to take a magic pill. Being consistent, not being a lazy piece of shit. So what I mean by that, if you're consistent enough, again, going to the gym and being in a caloric deficit, being in a caloric surplus, and you're eating the right foods, I don't have to give you a lecture for what those right foods are. You should kind of already have an understanding if you're like 20 and above. Just don't want to do it because you're too inconsistent with the way that you're making your decisions. Of course, I'm a victim of this too. I'm not a perfect person. Choosing to do the things in the gym and outside of it, very pertinent and important in order for you to actually make gains or to lose weight. What that kind of looks like for me, I'll have 5 meals a day and then I'll weigh everything out on a weight scale, and I'll put it in MyFitnessPal, any type of food macro calculator. Then I'll be able to do that consistently across the board. And then if I weigh myself each day and then take the average of those numbers from the week, you weigh 180 across that entire week, you'll find out what that average is, and then you can make or break, move those calories around, because I know that there's a lot of facets and nuances in order to actually make those decisions, but that's where consistency comes in. Second part is actually pushing your shit when you need to push your shit, not literally, because that kind of sounds like you're dropping a fucking huge deuce, which is also very important. You want to make sure that you're eating enough fiber. But what I will say is that what a lot of people are kind of victim of in the gym when they think that they're pushing weight when they're really not, or if they are pushing weight, there isn't range of motion, or they don't know how to structure it well enough to actually be able to make progressive gains over time. Let's say, for example, you're doing a barbell flat bench, top set PR at an RPE 9, how hard you're going is like 135. Being able to work with that top set number of 135, building that number again, 70% of 135 on one day, 80%, 82.5% of that top set PR different day, and then building up those numbers over time in order to get a bigger number 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line. So that's what I'd probably say are the next top 2 things I would mention. We can move on from that because I have my thoughts really jumbled and mixed, and this is all coming from the top of my head. So I have this big ass window and I can actually see people outside, not in like a creepy way, but that wraps up today's video in terms of relationships or my experience with the relationships. But I will say next week, the next time that I post, I actually asked a friend of mine to send in their opinion. I asked them a few questions regarding relationships for them. You guys will see it in the next video when I post it. Give a little bit more of my take on that as well. So hopefully you guys check that out. Hit that like, comment. It's so cool to me that I actually get to fucking say that. I have 15 subscribers now, which I think is pretty cool. My highest views was on the last video, so thank you guys so much for that. Leave a like, drop a comment, hit that bell icon, and thank you for listening.